I just really am so comfortable with myself to a point where it's like I think I almost took it too far. I was more just being the version of me that I thought that people wanted me to be in order for them to like me. I also will say I think that technology and like social media has really kind of impacted my ability to socialize with people, and that I really started realizing like, oh, I'm seeking out human connection through dating. I just don't want to look back at my 20s and be someone who watching other people live their lives and watching other people connect with people while I'm just like watching it from a screen. What's good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a super chill chit chat. Get ready with me. We're going to be talking about why I barely talk to people. I don't know why. I thought it would be like a fun topic to kind of just talk about. I feel like there's like a loneliness epidemic happening. I keep seeing people post about it. So many people in this generation just are not as socially connected as I feel like people were back in the day. And I just like want to talk about it. I want to talk about my experience with being kind of a loner. Not even a loner, but I want to talk about why I barely talk to people. So this is something that I am not necessarily proud of. I'm not making this video to brag or to be like, oh, I hate people, like people just suck. Like I actually very much deeply crave connection and like meaningful and deep friendships and just relationships. But I found myself over the past year really like not almost being able to connect with people in the way that I would necessarily like. I've just really kind of just been to myself. Like I have friends and I have people in my life who I absolutely love, but I'm not the best about keeping up with people, and I also just have not been the best about actually like pursuing and maintaining new relationships. It's something that I'm actually really working on, but I've found myself, especially just like over the past year. Also, I'm doing my skincare right now. I'm trying to put this on, but I'm like almost out of it. This is like what I use underneath. This is the SPF that I use. And then I'm also gonna use my snail mucin before I start doing my makeup. Also, my skin, I don't know what's been going on with it. And I don't know if you can tell because I think I still have the filter on my camera, but my skin has been breaking out so bad these past 2 days. I don't know what's going on. Actually, I know why. It's because I've been eating like shit. Like I literally have been eating trash. So anyways, back to what I was saying. Yeah, I've just been finding it like that I just really am so comfortable with myself to a point where it's like I think I almost took it too far. Like I think that I over the past year, okay, really like let's rewind actually, because I feel like for me for the longest time I was always social, and I was always, for me as a kid, I don't know, I think it's because like I moved across the country when I was like in middle school. I for the longest time wanted people to like me, and I wanted to have friends, and I wanted to be accepted, like, you know, every kid does. I think also in some way I was like a bit of a people pleaser. I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel like I always was like that. And I also was like always in back-to-back relationships like since I was like 17 years old. So literally I feel like for a good chunk of my life I was always like wanting, I don't know, like for a good chunk of my life I always was like thinking about other people, just like thinking about like also I'm using this Kosas BB Burst. There's like stuff all over my hands. I don't know if this shade is like the perfect match for me, but I'm like trying it out because I think that I do like this product. I've been really liking this brand. I like their I've been using their concealer, so I'm gonna like start trying to use their BB cream and seeing if I like it, because I'm not the biggest fan of using foundation, but I also do have skin issues, so I need it to kind of be a little bit of coverage, you know? But yeah, anyways, I'm saying this all to say that like basically I like, it's not that like I've always been like, oh, I hate people, or like, oh, I suck at making friends, or like, I don't think that like that's like my story or anything. I feel like it just took me a long time to really learn how to actually enjoy being alone and really being able to like spend time by myself without feeling like there's something wrong with me, or without feeling like I'm like weird for like being by myself, like going on solo dates, going on solo trips. I think that eventually, like, I don't know exactly when it was, but there was some point in my early 20s when I really started seeing the value of like spending time by yourself. And I think for me, like one of the most pivotal moments for me in learning how to do this was going on my first ever solo trip. So when I went to Lisbon by myself, I was like so scared, and I felt like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But eventually, like by the end of that trip, I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt like I had learned so much about myself and so much about the world just from spending that time alone. And I actually had ended up meeting so many people that I normally wouldn't have met if I was with other people. So like that was the first time when I was like, wow, like I actually really like being by myself, but also like I can attract like so many different kinds of people that I normally wouldn't be meeting when I am confident enough to be on my own, if that makes sense. Like I think that was the first time when I really realized like, oh, like I don't need to have people around just to go and do things and just to go like enjoy the world, if that makes sense. And so I think like in my early 20s, even though I was in a relationship and even though I had friends, especially like around the pandemic, I was always just kind of like, you know what, like I actually really do enjoy, sorry, my camera overheated. But yeah, I basically just like started like really enjoying being alone. I think especially like around the pandemic, like I had graduated from college and I was working at Amazon, and I also graduated like a semester earlier than a lot of my friends. So I was like already kind of like being thrown into the adult world, like the normal world, a little bit sooner than a lot of my peers. And so around that time, and again, we were in the pandemic, around that time, I just started getting really, really, really comfortable being by myself. And that actually ended up helping me out a lot because I was spending so much of my free time during the pandemic working on YouTube. I was starting to discover that like YouTube for me was this like kind of like outlet for me to be able to be myself in a way that I'm not normally. I feel like I was starting to use YouTube to like show a different side to myself. There were just so many different things that I was thinking about and learning about that I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't really talking about them like with my friends and with my family as much. So I kind of started using YouTube as a way to express that and as a way to really just like be myself fully without like really overthinking or like thinking about like what are people thinking about me. I just was never fully like myself around my friends and even like my family. Like especially like when I was younger, I think a part of me was always just like performing. It's like I wasn't so much being myself, I was more just being the version of me that I thought that people wanted me to be in order for them to like me. And I don't really know why I was like that. I just think that for the longest time I just really, really struggled to be myself. Maybe just because I didn't really fully know myself. I don't know. But eventually, like, hold on, I have to do my eyebrows because I'm gonna mess it up if I keep talking. But yeah, basically YouTube just kind of started becoming my place of like my safe space in a way. Like I just would come here and like talk about literally whatever was on my mind. And it just kind of started becoming like almost like free therapy for me. But I think that kind of came with also me getting more and more comfortable with just being by myself. Making new friendships, hold on, let me find my blush. Making new friendships just like was not as much of a priority to me. Like I just wasn't making so much of an effort to go and like meet new people. I think becoming single also really taught me that like a part of me was always kind of using romantic relationships as a form of like connection. Like I had said, I was in back-to-back relationships since I was like 17 years old. And so when I became single, like almost 2 years ago now, I was like instantly, one of my first priorities kind of became dating, which like I'm not super proud of. I know that people like, that's like such like a sin. That's like such a bad thing to say, especially like online. Like everybody is like super about like decentering men. But it took me a really long time to be able to, not really like a long time, but I would say that honestly, it wasn't until like last year that I really started doing that and that I really started realizing like, oh, I'm seeking out connection and just like, yeah, like just human connection through dating. And so I started kind of dating and, you know, kind of dabbling into that. And I just was realizing like, wait, I'm actually not ready for a new relationship. Like I actually really need to learn how to be okay with being by myself. I think this past year for me, I've really just kind of like leaned into, and if you guys have watched my videos, you guys know like I left the country, I was just traveling. I traveled solo for 3 months and then I moved to LA by myself and then I moved out here to New York. And so I've really like almost like even more in the past year leaned into being on my own. And I feel like I'm finally now in a city where it's like this city is more aligned to me. And I feel like I'm finally in a place now where it's like, again, I want friendships, I want meaningful connections, and eventually I want to explore dating again and like doing all that. But I think I really had to take this past year to really spend that time by myself. Okay, sorry, my camera keeps overheating. it's kind of a problem. I'm so over these lashes, by the way. Like I am either gonna, I actually, no, I have an appointment on Thursday to get my lashes. I'm gonna do like a totally different kind of set because I hate the way that it's called like a mascara set that I got. And I just don't think it suits my eyes at all. I think that they just look really, really messy. They don't look like neat, you know? So anyways, I definitely am really grateful for the connections that I do have. And it's not to say that I don't talk to anybody at all. It's just that I feel like I got so comfortable over this past year spending time by myself that now being in a new city and like, you know, naturally, I think most people would be trying to make friends and trying to hang out with people and just doing more things. I just don't feel like I have the motivation or like the energy to do it. And I'm sure over time, especially as like we enter like the spring and the summer, I think that is going to change just like naturally. I'm honestly like starting to feel kind of lonely. Like I'm kind of starting to realize like, bitch, no, like you need to like connect with people. Like this is like that's the thing is like I genuinely enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy meeting new people, but I think I have to be a bit more intentional and I have to kind of push myself a little bit because I've gotten so comfortable spending time by myself. I also will say I think that technology and like social media has really kind of impacted my ability to socialize with people. I can easily just find myself like on a Friday night or Saturday night, instead of like trying to make plans with people, I can easily find myself just like scrolling on TikTok for hours, and like I don't have a problem with it. But I'm starting to realize as I'm like kind of like looking at myself, I'm like, this is not, I'm so comfortable, but like it's not a good thing. I don't want this to be my life. I don't want to be someone who's only on her phone or just watching TV or reading every single weekend. I just don't want to look back at my 20s and be someone who watching other people live their lives and watching other people connect with people and like be out and about doing things while I'm just like watching it from a screen. Like when I actually do push myself to talk to people and to get out and even call people, like again, I'm the worst at my phone. Like I hate texting, I hate calling, I prefer to connect with people in person. But even when I just force myself to make that effort to call like an old friend, I find that I do really, really enjoy it. Like I really genuinely, again, I have so many really cool people that I currently know in my life, and I feel like there's so many cool people out there that I do want to meet. I'm just kind of entering the season where I'm realizing like I do have to get a little bit uncomfortable, and I have to kind of push myself if I want to live the life that I want to be living. For me to kind of be the version of myself that I want to be, I have to learn to connect with people more, and I have to learn to be comfortable with that, and I have to learn to, you know, although being by myself is such a safe space and comfortable space for me, and I could literally spend days and I could literally spend weeks by myself and like not have a problem with it. Like I laugh with myself. I really, really, really enjoy my alone time, but I just don't want to get so comfortable in it that like that's my entire life. Like I want to eventually open myself up to friendships and relationships and even just like connecting with my family more. Like I want to be that person. I think it's just like sometimes when I think about that, it just feels like so much work and it feels like so much energy. And sometimes when I look at other people who are doing that, I'm like, how do you have the energy for it? Like, how do you do it? Like, teach me. Like my closest friend, Veronica, if you guys know her, like she is so like that. Like she just so naturally, she loves connecting with people. She's really, really good with people. She's just like, if you're around her, like, you know, like if you're around both of us, like you can feel like we're just such different people. But I always admire that about her, that she's just so good about connecting with people and she genuinely enjoys it. And I'm like, I want to be that kind of person. Like I want, sorry, I'm choking. But I'm also having to learn that like, it's okay that I'm not. Like it's okay to, I think I've always felt like weird or like there's something wrong with me for enjoying my alone time. So I think I'm just having to learn balance. I don't know if it's because I'm an Aries or what, but I'm such a 0 or a 100 person. So I'm either like doing things all the time, I'm always busy, or I'm not hanging out with anybody. And I think I'm at a period in my life where it's like I'm having to learn balance. And it's weird because I feel like naturally as people, we can kind of end up too far on one end of the spectrum. Like I really don't ever want to be the kind of person who is not capable of being by themselves and is not capable of sitting with themselves and like spending time by themselves, because I feel like I know people who are like that, and I just don't like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be someone who, even like in a relationship, I don't want to be someone who's attached to someone else and needs someone else in order to be happy. I don't want to be someone who is like getting my energy from other people. But I'm also learning, like, as a human being, it's totally natural and normal to crave connection, and it's totally natural and normal to, you know, rely on people a little bit, right? Like, that's just how, like, we are wired to be social creatures. And so I don't know, I think I'm just like trying to figure out like where that balance is. And I think a part of me is like a little bit avoidant in my relationships, and I'm trying to learn like not to fear connection and not to fear, like, I think also I kind of like fear, like, even in friendships, like someone relying on me too much or wanting, like, I'm not ever probably gonna be the friend who can text and talk to someone every single day. Like, that's just not me. I'm very much more of a low maintenance friend, but I also do recognize that you do have to pour into your friendships. Like, you have to try, you have to make an effort. I think eventually that's just gonna kind of start to come more naturally to me, and it's gonna be a little bit easier for me to just start saying yes to things and, you know, making more of that effort. But everything happens in time, and I'm also a big believer in like there's a season for everything. And so just because I've been in more of like a season of isolation and being like not even isolation, but like solitude, just because I was more in that season before doesn't mean that that's what my life has to look like forever. I just feel like life is a little bit less fun when we like cling to these personalities and like these like identities and like who we think we are. Like, it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm an introvert and this is just who I am and I'm just this kind of person. But it's like really truly like you don't have to cling to any identity. Like, you can decide to change your complete, like, you can wake up tomorrow and be a completely different person if you want to. So yeah, I feel like now that I'm entering a new chapter, like, it's just gonna become easier, especially now that like I'm in a city that I actually feel more aligned to. But I feel like now that I'm like entering my later 20s, like, I don't think I'm ever gonna be the kind of person again who just wants friendships and wants relationships or just wants anyone around, period, just for the sake of having people around. Like, anyone that I actually spend time with now in this phase of my life, it's because I genuinely like them and I genuinely like enjoy the conversation, or like I genuinely feel inspired by them, or like I feel like anyone who's in my life, there's something about them that I look up to, or something about them that I admire. Like, there's a quality about them that I actually really want, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like any relationship that you have, it's not just about like, oh, this person needs to add value to my life, or like they need to be this or that. Like, it's not in this like superficial egotistical way, but I do feel like anyone that you're spending time with, there should be some energy that you're gaining from them, not like you're just doing it just to do it and then you leave feeling more depleted than you were before. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm just like in a very much more intentional season of my life. I don't think I'd be able to get to this place if I hadn't spent so much time alone, and if I hadn't learned how to enjoy being by myself. And again, it hasn't always been easy. There's a lot of times where I felt super lonely, and there's a lot of times where I've, again, sought connections, especially romantically, that weren't actually aligned just for the sake of having someone around, or just because I wasn't comfortable being by myself. But I'm so glad that I went through all of that so that I could learn about myself, and so that I could learn how to eventually get to this point where now I do feel comfortable being on my own, you know? So hopefully that made some sense, you guys. I feel like I rambled a lot in this video, but I think that maybe you guys can kind of get what I'm saying. Kind of did a very light makeup today, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. I still need to do my hair, kind of like do my edges and stuff, and like actually get dressed for the day. But I just wanted to come on here and just chat with you guys while I did my makeup. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit nerve-wracking sharing things that I'm going through as I'm going through them, because sometimes you know, you want to be like on the other side of it before you talk about it. But I do feel like a lot of you guys can probably relate to this, and I don't know if you guys have any advice or any things that you have learned on this journey when it comes to connecting with people and just finding meaningful relationships in your life. Please let me know in the comments down below. I can take any advice that you have. And yeah, let me know how you guys are doing as well. I hope you guys are having an amazing week, and I will see you guys in the next video.